Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
You know what I love?
What?
No, I'm not going to say pickles. I was going to... No, we won't do that again. I'm loving lately how well the little BARI Banter family's growing and, like, how they're interacting. And, like, even, like, Mick last week, I was talking to him about it, and he said it's just so, like, so much love. Like, he got so much love, and people, like, reaching out to him and, like, you know, saying really kind things. And it's just the other BARI Banter family, you know, the bariatric family that we have. It's really, like,
and it's
good.
Growing.
I like it. I just like that, like, people are interacting, and, you know, it's becoming like a little family and like a little support network. And yeah, you know, like, there's one thing that every family needs. What do you reckon that is?
Pickles.
No, a bumper sticker. Yeah. So Lena,
I was like, what are you talking about? Where is this going?
You know, I was like, pickles, really? Okay. But you know, we were talking the other night, and we said, we're like, we need make a little sticker, you
like
know,
the little family, you know, the
oh my God,
on the back of the car, like the little mum, the dad, the kids, the dogs. Like,
well, if you can do something cool like that,
yeah,
no. This is we want our slogan to now be
a fat stick figure to a skinny stick figure,
like the evolution process. Like, yeah, we want our slogan for our family to be "I'm a Barry." I'm a Barry, because I feel like it's like there's like I'm a bariatric patient, but like I'm a Barry.
I'm a Barry, and then people will be like, "Why are you
with
Barry?"
Like little Barry Mike.
But you're a Shazza, not a Bazza.
You're a Shazza, not a No, everyone's a Barry. No, that makes it funner.
Yeah,
it's like you know, even chicks can be like, I'm a Barry. Like, really? Yeah, I'm a Barry.
I'm a Barry.
But yeah, apart from that, I haven't. You know.
Your brain's not functioning properly.
No, it's really not. Like, I've been doing too much, like, trying to learn this coding, and I literally said it to you, I'm literally a potato at this point, because, like, all my mental brain energy is going into, like, trying to learn coding, and, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a good challenge. But
at least when you go to bed and sleep. Like, I have been trying to figure out what to do with my website, because I want to try and add the shop to it, and I couldn't figure it out last night, but I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I had an epiphany, and I figured out how to do it. But I just sat in bed at 3 o'clock this morning and couldn't get back to sleep because I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. And now I'm really tired.
You know what they say, you do some of your best work at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, maybe just get a little notepad and scribble it down. But anyway, someone who does their best work at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, she does get up at 3:30 most mornings.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a great accidental.
Nailed that. Is our guest today. Would you like to introduce her?
Sure. So today's guest went under the knife in December of 2019 to have sleeve surgery, and her goal was to be happy and healthy. Her start weight was 108 kilos, and she's managed to lose and maintain over 40. Someone who both of us are drawing inspiration from at the moment and always. Please welcome the bubbly, motivated and kind Maddie, also known as Maddsbritt on the gram. Hey, lovely.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Loving the colour of your top. It's very cute.
Oh, thank you.
Surprise,
It's
pink.
colour.
Yeah.
It's surprise. Are we shocked? You've met me.
I know, you're like, so I had the pink nails, the pink hair, the pink top.
Oh yeah, 100%. Look, it's all got to match, right? Even my bike is pink.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, my helmet's pink, like the whole lot is all just pink.
I'm going to hazard a guess and say that pink's your favourite colour.
No, how did you know?
She's like, no, it's blue.
No, it's blue. No, it's orange. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's cute. Mads, thank you for coming on. We're actually super excited to sit under you. You're someone I actually do watch quite closely and get a lot of inspiration from, so we're actually excited to get to know you a little bit better. This week we asked the question, what's your why? So, like, you know, that was kind of what we put out on the socials. I want to know, what was your why? What was the reason why you went with bariatric surgery?
Oh, okay. So, look, I think at the time I was 27 when I decided to get this done, like 26, 27. And I kind of had a moment one day where I was like, you know what? I'm approaching 30 at a very rapid pace, and I guess, like, I wanted to be fitter and happier and healthier. And there was a moment where I was climbing up our train loadout to go and do like a safety thing because I work in money. And I couldn't make it up the stairs without feeling like my poor little ticker was going to give out. And I think in that moment I was like, right, I need to do something about this. And I'd ummed and ahed for a really long time about whether I was going to do this or not. And I toyed with the idea for about 6 months, and then I kind of went, excuse my French, for effort. Like, I have to do something because I want to be fit and happy and healthy, like heading into my 30s. And yeah, so I did a bit of asking around, and kind of, I knew friends that had had it done, and so I kind of went, oh, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. And before I knew it, I was in my doctor's getting a referral, and then I went to True Surgeons here in Perth. So, because I wanted to have a bit of variety and kind of just see what the go was. Really connected with my second surgeon, and I was in hospital within 9 weeks. So, 9 weeks from original meeting to then being in surgery, like ready to go. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess like that was my initial why, just to be happy and healthy and lose weight and sort of be the best person that I knew that I could be. And obviously that has since grown and changed, and it's evolved. Yeah. I'm 2 years and 2 months, nearly 3 months in. And like I'm the crazy lady that gets up. It's actually 2:30 in the morning. 2:30. 2:30.
Oh
yeah,
my.
I'm the crazy lady that gets up at 2:30 in the morning to go work out, because I am training for a half Ironman. And like I just feel like I reached my goal a really long time ago, where I just wanted to be fit and happy and healthy, and kind of whatever came after that was whatever was going to come after that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my why in a nutshell.
It's a great
I just really
why.
enjoy. Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think everyone's got their reasons for doing it. Whether it's to be happy and healthy, or to start a family, and all those kinds of things. And but I really think that kind of the being the happiest, but not the best version, the happiest version of myself.
Which is the best version.
Which is really the best version. That happiness, changes with things that happen in life.
Yeah, so 100%. Was bariatric surgery on your radar for a while, or was it kind of something that you went, oh, I need to do something, and then heard about it, or was it there for a bit?
It was on my radar for about a year and a half. So I knew people that had had it done, and I kind of toyed with the idea, and then I kind of went, oh no, I can't do that, because let's face it, we've all been there.
Yes.
We've all been there. I don't know a single person that hasn't been there that's had bariatric surgery. So I toyed with the idea for about 18 months, and then it was only really like I thought, you know what, it was like March 2019, and I thought, you know what, if I still want to do it in like a couple of months, then maybe I'll really consider it. It wasn't until that July when I had my, oh my God, I have to do this moment, that it really kind of set the ball in motion.
Yeah.
Were you overweight as a kid or a teenager, or was it something that sort of came on later in life?
No, I was definitely overweight, I would say, for a really, really long time. So, I was kind of chubby as a kid, and then I guess I never really grew out of it. I was overweight as a teenager, and it never really, I guess it bothered me, but it didn't really bother me that much, because I kind of thought, oh, I'll just, you're a teenager, right? There's so much going on when you're a teenager. And then I actually lost a bit of weight using an MLM, and I won't talk about that because whatever. And yeah.
What's an MLM?
So
what is that?
Multi-level marketing company.
Oh.
So, so I'd lost a whole bunch of weight through weight loss products. And then it wasn't until, I went and did some crazy cycling stuff, which I'm always happy to talk about. I went and did some crazy cycling stuff, and then I got injured and put all my weight back on. And then it really kind of stemmed there that obviously that wasn't a long-term lifestyle, that wasn't a long-term sustainable thing for me. And yes, I've kind of battled with weight, I would say, since I was at least 10.
It sounds like
maybe longer.
You've definitely been active though. Like even just then talk about the cycling thing. Have you always been an active person? Like what was that cycling thing you were just talking about then?
So I rode 840 kilometres 2 years in a row from from Melbourne to Adelaide for a kids' charity.
Wow.
So yeah, like I feel like as an adult, like I would say from like maybe 23, 24, I started getting a little bit more active. So I really do think that it wasn't so much the active part. Like, I knew that I could drag my butt there if I really needed to, or I had this crazy cycling goal that I did. Not, look, I'm very proud of that, because it obviously then stems into what I'm training for now. But yeah, it wasn't so much of an active thing. I think it really came down to me varying, and like, you know, eating and like social pressure and all that kind of thing.
That's what I was going to say. Like, obviously, you had the exercise thing down packed. So like you've got exercise again flowing through your veins and kind of smashing that side of things. You know, looking back and reflecting on like who you were prior to surgery, like what do you put the weight down to? Like, what kind of, like, was it habits? Was it relationships? Was it just, you know, bad things you had in your life?
I think it just came down to my relationship with food. Like, I don't think up until this point, I don't think I've ever had like a healthy relationship with, you know, food and eating and kind of looking after yourself and stuff. I think even when I was using like the weight loss products, it wasn't healthy. Like, I became very obsessed with calorie counting, and I was obsessed with shakes and, you know, popping all these vitamins and kind of doing everything that I was supposed to do to kind of fit into the mold that I was meant to be in, right? And I think deep down I knew that I wasn't meant to be there, but I was that desperate to fit in and be like a normal 20-something that I kind of did that. And yes, it paid off, but it wasn't really sustainable. Like, I just, you know, I guess talking about it now and reflecting on it, I remember I used to feel like just like it was never enough. And, you know, my relationship with food was like so bad at one point. Like, I used to be on, I remember there was this one time where I was prepping for like an event, and I was on like 3 shakes a day, and I was eating F all, and it's not healthy. Like, my relationship with food was never really healthy. And so I think that's where a big factor came in for me. I also went back to being FIFO when I was 20, I think I was 26. When I went back to being FIFO, and I was in a really stressful job. So I guess maybe that, and I think that when I reflect on those couple of years before I had bariatric surgery, I just remember being stressed all the time, and food was my kind of outlet. So I know full heart that I was definitely a stress eater, and I was definitely an emotional eater. You know, when you really kind of reflect on it.
How have you found that FIFA work? Because like, I worked away for a bit, and I found my diet, like my balance of like, you know, trying to find this structure just went out the window. You know, you'd go to work all day, you'd come home, and you'd be like, well, it's either I eat food and drink alcohol, I go to bed.
Especially if you, like, I don't know what your work situation's like, but if you work in like where there's like a mess for the workers and stuff, like that would be super tricky. I find that, I think that would be super tricky, because you don't get to choose the food that you're eating. It's just sort of put in front of you.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I come from a mining background. I'm 3rd generation iron ore, so mining runs in my blood, right? So being FIFO, I've always found to be relatively easy. You know, given the fact that that's my work background, that's how I grew up, like, and so on. And so I find it easier now. Like, the food that we have at work is really great. Like, they do have like a range of like vegetables. The 2 mine sites that I work at, the village, in the, like, when, you know, I go to the mess and stuff, you can order fresh off the grill. So they do like steak and chicken and fish that you can order. So that is literally my life now. I literally will go to the grill and I'll order like fish or chicken, and then just get whatever vegetables happen to be on hand. Or if there's nothing, then I kind of go, oh yeah, I want that, I'll just go for the salad bar. So like, you know, there is options. It's not as bad as I think what everyone makes it out to be. I think it's just making that conscious choice.
And like,
to be like,
you know the lifestyle pretty well by the sound of it. So.
I was going to say, have you noticed though that since surgery, like, are you making better choices? Because I know I used to work on cruise ships, and we were like, there's crew mess, and like I was allowed to go into the restaurant where all the guests were as well. And I was at pretty much my heaviest when I worked on cruise ships, and it was kind of like there was all the salads, but you were still kind of like, you know, that lasagna and chips looks pretty damn good. But like now, I think it would be completely different. Like when you go, I still eat way too much when there's like a buffet put in front of me, but like I make healthier choices, and I don't mind leaving food on my plate. Back in the day, I'd get like the lasagna, chips, and like a little bit of salad, and I'd eat it all, and then I'd go back for more. Like, have you seen that your sort of like eating habits have changed?
100%. Like, I think when I decided to do this, I was like, and look, I'm an all or nothing person. generally. So if I'm going to commit to something, I really want to give it 110% of my heart space. And so, yeah, I think that, you know, making those choices for myself, and I'm like, well, I did not just spend all of that money because I did mine uninsured, right? So I did not spend all of that money just to go back to the way it was before, and I wanted to give myself the best chance of really kind of giving myself the opportunity to really, you know, consciously make those healthy choices and build this into a lifestyle so that, you know, when small things like when you get a small bit of regain or whatever the case may be, you know, as you the three of us know, like that, you know, where the ones are a little bit further along, sometimes it can happen, but it's just, yeah, I definitely think that I do make the healthier choice like 90% of the time. Look, I still really enjoy a burger because that's just when you train a lot, I'm like, oh yeah. Like, but yeah, I can still, like, I live generally by the 80-20, so, you know, like, I do eat relatively well, like 80% of the time, but I do not feel guilty if every now and again, like, I go out for burgers with my friends, or, you know, like, I might make something at home or do something like that. Like, there's no guilt around food anymore because I do have that little bit more of a balance.
Yeah.
And I've also found that I've been particularly good at, I guess, when things fall to the wayside a little bit, or if I don't feel like I'm making the most healthiest choices for myself, I tend to feel it. Like, I feel it in, like, I'm really sluggish and gross and work. So, like, you know, it reverts straight back to that, okay, hang on a second, like, let's just dial this back in and kind of start to make those choices again, because you know how good you feel when you're at your prime.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing the sleeve and, like, bypass and stuff does really well, is because it minimizes the amount you can put in. It really exaggerates, like, how that food makes you feel. And, like, that, I was saying that to someone the other day, that's, like, the biggest benefit of bariatric surgery is having that, like, you know, exaggerated version of what a food actually does to your body.
I feel like I've said it a few times in the last couple of weeks, but I feel like it almost like hypersensitizes you to the flavor of foods and that sort of thing, because you're getting so little amount of it that you just want to only put in good tasting food and good, healthy, nutritious food so that you get the most out of the tiny portion that you're able to.
Saying that, we go through times though, like, and I was going to ask you, Mads, you know, where you do have those the old patterns come into play and you kind of, like, get a bit excited and do too much of a good thing. You know, is there certain habits that you still sometimes have to, like, pull yourself up on, and, like, or, you know, was binge eating ever an issue for you? Like, is there little habits like that still kind of you're battling with?
I guess, look, if I'm allowed to say this, like, definitely around Shark Week, like, I don't know what it is, but, like, sorry, Shan.
No,
but it just,
all
like,
the carbs, all the sugar.
all the carbs, everything.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of our female, like, your female listeners will be able to relate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like particularly the last 6 months, like, my cravings just skyrocket. So I'm like, cool, no worries. I don't normally crave that. That's something to be mindful of. Or if I'm like, oh, I've eaten this like a couple of days in a row, and I know that that's generally not really kind of what I'm looking to actually eat myself, or maybe I'm just eating out of boredom. Like, I don't really know. So yeah, just, I guess, like, I'm not the perfect person, and I'm not the most I'm not a perfect bariatric patient. I don't think anyone is, and if anyone is, they're lying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just all about balance and kind of knowing your own key indicators, like, you know, whether you're emotional or whether you know, like, when it could be a range of emotions, you know. But I think it's just like, yeah, being mindful of, you go, okay, cool, these are my triggers, or these are my food triggers, or these are my little tendencies. Yeah. Let's be mindful of that.
Yeah.
You know, I think I experienced a lot of guilt for a long time around food, and so I've actually done a lot of I go to a neuro-linguistic practitioner, and I see her I speak to her quite frequently. I was for a while, and now we just kind of have to ask,
what is that?
I was going to say, Shannon, can you repeat that word back?
Can you say that 4 times fast for me before you tell me what that is?
So a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So it's just a form of therapy. Like, it's just a form of therapy. So it's timeline therapy. So it's you know, I did tap into it for a number of reasons. But one being my relationship with food, because that's kind of where she stemmed from to start with, and she's absolutely amazing. Like, I love that girl. And yeah, so just like, I've done a lot of I've done a lot of work around my relationship with food and using therapy as a tool to do so.
And
self-aware by the sounds of it, which is
I
good.
think we can, I personally need to congratulate you, because I know that we were talking at the beginning of this year and we were both saying that we were going to give up alcohol or, you know, at least cut back, and you'll be very proud of me. I'm drinking a non-alcoholic Cosmopolitan right now. It's just Cosmo mix and soda water. I haven't completely cut it out. I still do enjoy the odd wine and gin, but I believe you have pretty much completely cut it out, haven't you?
I'm 42 days sober.
Wow.
Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, which it sounds real weird when I say it out loud, because I was never really a big drinker anyway. Alcohol's never really been my thing. I was more of like a social drinker, and I went for full disclosure, like I went my first full year post-surgery without any. Like, wow. I don't think I had my surgery in the December, and I don't think I actually touched a drink until at least like October, November. So I was well into it. Like, and then I kind of socially drank like here and there, and I, you know, as we all tend to do. But yeah, I think in my desire to do my crazy, ridiculous, well, it's not ridiculous, but like my crazy race at the end of the year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give myself the best outcome and, you know, the best opportunity to do really well. And that includes cutting out alcohol. Now, originally the plan was just to cut it out for my prep season, or like my entire prep, and then maybe go back to it. But I've consciously gone, you know what, in the last month, like I have tuned into kind of how I'm feeling and how my anxiety has been. Like I get hangover anxiety. So when I used to drink and stuff, or to the point of being tipsy or drunk or whatever, you know, whatever the case may be, I would get raging anxiety for the days that followed, and sometimes it would last like up to a week.
Wow.
And I kind of went, you know what, I don't really want to do that anymore, and that's not something that I ever really want to experience again. So I have decided to give up entirely.
Wow. That's amazing. You're doing really well.
How in tune are you, though?
I know.
To sit there and be like, well, I had more anxiety when I used to drink and now I don't. Like, that's
very in
prompts.
tune.
Like, that's freaking awesome that you can do that.
Thank you. I mean, look, it's definitely not easy, because there have been moments, like, you know, I've had a lot going on, and so I'm kind of like, there have been moments, particularly like in the last 42 days, where I've been like, oh, I could really just have a wine, but then I'm like, you know what, this is not what I agreed. This is not the agreement that I made with myself. And I knew how I would feel about myself if I did that, right? If I broke the promise that I kind of made to myself. And look, no one's perfect, and I just kind of went, you know what, I think I need to do this long term, and there are so many other non-alcoholic alternatives out there that I don't miss. Like, I don't miss it at all. You know, I've developed a very great taste for Zero Heineken. I wasn't really a beer person, but I love these. These are the dark nuts. I'm like, oh, this is my mining coming out in me. But yeah, like I've made the conscious, and I've told a few people, and you know, it's kind of like, well, this is what I don't mind if people drink around me or if people don't. Like, you do you. Like, it's what you do. That's your life. Like, I will support anyone that does what they want to do. But yeah, I think consciously for me, I've been like, cool, we're going to not do that.
That's so good. You're a very strong-willed person. Very
focused person.
Yeah.
We'll touch on in a second why, like, what you're leading towards with your focus. But I wanted to kind of touch on, like, you know, being in the mining kind of thing and, like, around, like, blokes and having weight loss surgery and, you know, and being off alcohol. Like, have you found much criticism around, like, you know, having, like, bypass surgery and the other kind of decisions you've made? Like, have you had much criticism come your way?
Not at all. Like, I think that I remember when I first decided to do this, and I was so nervous to tell anyone. And I was like, I'm going to keep it a secret, and I'm not going to tell anyone. And why would I do that? Why would I scrutinize myself like that? And I know that, like, no disrespect to anyone that chooses to keep it a secret. Like, you do you. You know. But I started with my parents, right? And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, I'm going to tell my mum. Like, it's going to happen. I'm going to tell her. And I remember the day. I remember the exact moment. Like, she was cooking dinner, and I was sitting in the kitchen with her, and I was like, so, Mum, I think I'm going to do this. And she looked at me, and she was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. And I could see the apprehension, because, you know, I think she'd heard
The horror stories.
The horror stories, and she'd heard the ugly side of, like, or the not so great side of it, sorry. Side, and I kind of went, oh, so this is why I'm doing it. And then once I kind of spoke to my mum and kind of got my mum on board, and then I went, okay, cool, this feels all right. Like, there was no judgment. And then I started telling some of my close friends, and then I started telling a few people at work that were close to me. And honestly, I think that I'm very grateful in the response that I got, because not many people had anything bad to say. They were like, that's awesome. I think you're fantastic for doing it and being open about it. And I tell you what, like, I'm really grateful that I was open about it, because my mum has had it done since. Two work colleagues have had it done since. And so I think by me being a little bit vulnerable in a really big decision that I was making with my life and being open, it took away the stigma for me entirely. I was like, cool, it's out there. I don't care what people say about me, because what people say about me is really none of my business. But yeah, I think just being open about it for me personally enabled a really positive outcome.
Yeah, I think that
I know that doesn't.
It says a lot about the people you surround yourself with, though. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, you putting that out there and not having any criticism says a lot about the people you've surrounded yourself with. It also says, in turn, a lot about you. You know, because you're not. I feel like you wouldn't be someone I would want to mess with.
I also love what you just said then too. Like,
hard.
what people think about you isn't really any of your business. Like, you don't, like, it's on them, not you. So I love that.
Yeah.
It's really not. Like, I mean, it took me a really long time to come to that, right? Like, I always used to really think about. I used to be like, oh my god, what do people think about me? And like, oh my god, if I'm not this person. And I think I know exactly where that stems from. And so, like, I think for me to really work on that, I was kind of like, you know what? It's really none of my business what people think. If they want to tell me what they think, that's good on you. But, like, it's really none of my business what people think of me. And vice versa. Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just you're not going to be everyone's favorite cupcake, but
it's definitely easier said than done sometimes, though. Like, I still, like, I'm that kind of person where I've tried to take that whole, like, you know, don't judge someone else's thing, because, like, that's their journey, you know, like, but it's still like, you know, you still feel a certain amount of, like, I guess, self-consciousness with certain aspects of your life. You know, like, I'm a pretty confident person these days, and I've taken the same approach where I go, you know, I don't really care. Like, if it's the leader or my mum or someone, I care what they think, but I don't really care what someone random on Instagram thinks anymore. You know what I mean? Like, but it's still, you used to have those moments of, like, someone says something, you're like, oh.
I've also noticed that I don't care as much that, like, I used to think that people judged me all the time. And I mean strangers in the street. I used to walk down the street and think that people were looking at my, like, what takeaway I was eating and, like, judging me on that. Like, I know that obviously that comes with the territory of losing the weight and you're feeling more confident in yourself, but you also then realize that people actually don't give a shit about people. You know what I mean? Like, we're also like consumed with our own life. That how often do you walk down the street and look at somebody carrying a Macca's bag and go, you probably shouldn't be eating that? Like, never. You never do it. Like, so why?
I wonder if you've got, like, an extra cheeseburger.
I was like, I'm hungry.
Oh, I wonder if I've got nuggets.
Nug life.
I wonder what comes in Happy Meals these days.
But it's just kind of like, how often, like, have you ever thought the thoughts that you think people are thinking about you? Like, it's a really weird thing
it's really wild, hey, especially, like, how obviously brains and humans and how we all work. Like, you know, it's just, like, I agree with you, Shan. Like, if it was my mum, if my mum had something to say, or my sisters, and trust me, like, I've been car trapped and told before, but, like, you know, just, I guess, like, if it was someone really important to me and they felt like I was being harmful to myself or to other people, then yes, I would want them to tell me if I was like...
You'd want them to stage an intervention?
I'd want them to stage an intervention. Not about
No, they're called car traps. It just says car trap. They pretty much kidnap her and say, well, we're not going to let you go until you listen to us.
My sister has car trapped me before. She wanted to talk to me about something, and she's like, oh, I'll come for a drive. And I'm like, okay, cool, sure. And then we get halfway down the road and she locks the door and she's like, so I have something to talk to you about. And I'm like, oh no. And I can see what's happening. I'm like, you car trapped me. and there's nothing I can do because we're driving and we're on a highway and I just have to listen to what you have to say.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm going to car track people from
it's
now
either
on.
listen to me or jump out of 100 vehicle moving 100 kilometers an hour. Take your choice.
My sister is an evil genius, but I digress.
No, it is. Let's talk about your like training, because like it's something I've kind of been very intrigued by, because
We've been following closely.
Yeah, well, not like I'm not. I'm just kind of.
have been.
I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it. I think I kind of touch it and go, oh wow, that's pretty cool. What brought this about? Like, have you ever wanted, like, you've obviously done the big rides and stuff like that. Has triathlon and different things been a focus of yours? Like, what's kind of brought this upon yourself?
Oh, I was on a road trip down south back in September, and the person that I was with in the car, like, I was kind of just having a bit of a yarn. And I was like, you know what? I need to find another goal, because I had been walking and I'd been doing, like, I think I walked realistically, I think from April to August, I think I clocked like at least 1,000 kilometers of walking. Like, I think we all know about my walking phase and my ridiculous early mornings. And so I kind of went, and I'd been thinking about a new challenge for a while, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I kind of went, what about a triathlon? Because I'd seen a few people doing some cool things, and I discounted myself for a really long time, because I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would I do that?
You're like, that's three things that I've got to try and master. Well, I can't even do one.
Yeah. And so I kind of went, maybe I'll do that. And then I'd seen, so there's this girl, her name's Alexa Leary, and she is I think you guys have heard about her. She's like
Move for Lex. Yep.
Oh yeah, Lex.
Move for Lex. The Move for Lex movement.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by that beautiful young girl. Like, I was like, oh my God. And then I kind of went, you know what? What have I got to lose, really? Like, what's the worst that could happen here? And then I went, cool, I'm going to commit. And originally it was just going to be a tiny baby try. I was like, yeah, cool, I might do like, I don't know, a 400-meter swim or a 14K bike ride, or whatever the case may be.
An enticer.
Joke's on me. Yeah, an enticer. Joke's on me. Because, and yeah, so that's kind of where it stemmed from. I had no real passion to do it at all at one point. Like, it kind of just, I went, you know what, that's a really cool idea. And I want to take the next step, and I want to get more active. And I'm so glad that I decided to do that, because honestly, like, the people that it has brought into my life, the training, like all the elements have just made me a better person.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you've done a try already, though, haven't you? No, you haven't.
No.
Like, you had one plan.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I love that you've gone from being like enticer to like you're training for a half Ironman, and you haven't even done any form of triathlon before. Like, you plan on doing a Olympic distance before the Ironman, the half Ironman, or no?
Yeah, I think we'll get there. So at the moment, I'm working with a triathlon coach here in Perth, and so we're base building at the moment. So really just, working on my swimming, working on my cycling. We are doing running at the moment, and I really dislike it. I'm not built to be a runner. I'm tiny, but I'm not built to be a runner. But anyway,
it's okay. It's only a half marathon at the end of it. It's not far. You'll be fine. Most people don't even want to do a half marathon, but no, you're doing it on the back of a swim and a cycle.
Yeah, on dead legs. Delicious.
Have you actually thought about this? Like, do you know what you're getting yourself in for?
Oh, no. She clearly has that mindset. Like, to do that Melbourne to Adelaide ride, like that, and like we said before, like, doing things like that and put yourself in an uncomfortable position develops that part of your brain where, like, you build a resilience. So, for you to be able to do those rides, you've got that resilience factor already programmed into your brain. And that's what is 90% of these events is just the refusal to quit. It's what it comes down to most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think I'm not really kind of sure what the plan is for during the year, but all I know is that we're base building, right? So doing a lot of swimming, doing a lot of cycling, lots of cycling. I mean, like, I'm cycling once a week at the moment. But yeah, just really kind of building a really good base. And then I think in the next couple of months, then we'll go, okay, cool, this is where we're at. This is kind of what we're going to go for. So, I think that's the plan anyway.
And you're doing, where are you doing the half?
Busso.
In Busselton. In
Yeah.
Busso.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So,
Is that at the end of the year? Yep.
End of the year. So I'm really I know what I'm like when I set really ridiculous goals. And so I was like, it's really important for me as a person to break it down into small, sizable chunks.
Yep.
So then that way I can really kind of work on it and build on it, because that's how my cycling was. Like, I started with nothing and I trained all year, and then I went and did this really big cycle. Like, it was just, it's the thing. I like my big goals to be like, I'm in it for the long haul.
And breaking it up, I like that, because that's I work the same way. It's like breaking it up into smaller chunks that are manageable, and rather than being over intimidated by a big goal. Because like sometimes you look at the big goal and you go, whoa, that's a really big goal. But like if you break it down into like the first month, it's like, well, that's manageable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think once I committed, once I committed to being like, cool, I'm going to go do a try, I just started. Like, I started, getting on the spin bike, and I started doing all these things, and I winged it for the first 3 months because I had no idea what I was doing. And then it wasn't until I had no idea. And then it wasn't until I reached out to a good friend of mine who is, she's actually the president of my triathlon club. And I messaged her and I was like, oh, can you recommend a coach or anyone in Perth, because I have no idea what I'm doing and I need some help, because I don't believe that anyone can get to an Ironman, half or full, on their own. Like, it's just not like, I think you can if you're really, really strong-willed, but it helps. Like,
or stupid. One of
you
the
shouldn't. Or stupid.
I'm looking at this one over here.
Yeah, Shannon, I'm looking at you.
Stupid.
Yeah, like, yeah. I think I was like, you know what, I'm not afraid to ask for help, and that was the biggest thing that I learned out of my cycling, because I was young and naive and I had no idea what I was doing, and I think I just got lucky. Like, I just got lucky that, I relatively pulled it off, but I knew that setting a big goal like this, I was like, I've learnt my lesson from last time, and there is no way that I'm doing this unassisted. Like, I need help. I need help in training. I need help in nutrition. Like, I'm seeking to understand how to be better, so I don't get to race day and completely cark it. Like, because that's probably what would have happened.
Talking about nutrition, how are you going with the nutrition and hydration side of things? Because obviously, like, that's quite tricky anyway when you've got a full-size stomach. But when you've got, like, a size of a sushi, like
2/10 size
two tenths, like, how are you finding all of that? Like, how are your energy levels? How's hydration?
I'm actually not doing too bad. So I'm naturally a big water drinker anyway, like working away and stuff and being in the heat. And I grew up in the heat. So being hydrated has never really been a problem for me. I notice when I'm not as hydrated, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I think I'm slowly starting to get the hang of the whole food thing. Like, I'm very transparent about where I'm at in this journey at all times, right? So, like, I think I'm getting the hang of it, but I also know that it's not great. Like, it's not perfect either. So I have engaged with a sports nutritionist here in Perth. She specialises in ultra marathon runners and Ironman programs.
Yep.
So yeah, really kind of just tapping into Gabby. I've got a meeting with her in a couple of weeks, because we had to move some stuff around, and so yeah, I think I'm doing okay at the moment. It's like it ebbs and flows. Like, some weeks I will be strong as anything, and I will have the energy of like 10 Shannons running the 100-mile or whatever you did, you crazy human being. But then there have been weeks, like this week, for example, where I barely made it through my Tuesday training, and I went, I need a minute. Like, I just need a minute to kind of rest and eat properly and kind of pull myself back together, and I just need a breather, right? And look, there's nothing wrong with that either. I think it's really important for people to recognise when they're overdoing it, because classic Mads.
Remind me after the recording, because nobody needs to listen to us talk about women's cycles and training and all that sort of stuff. But there's a really, really good book that I'll recommend to you that I think you should have a read of.
We know you got to drop it. What is it?
Oh, it's Raw. It's called Raw.
Okay, well, we can move on from that. But like, I just want people. We don't want like secrets from people. It's like we're going to tell you about a book, but no one else gets.
Oh, I just didn't want to bore people with it. Like it's very specific to it. But yeah,
sorry.
No, but I like where your head's at, because like you have this kind of approach towards it where it's like you're gonna learn on the fly. Like you kind of taking all the information you can, but you're also kind of establishing your own path as you go along. Like, because obviously a textbook would say, have this is a result, but it's not always the case. Like, as you just said before, where like some weeks you follow the plan, you have all the energy, and then the next week you have none. So it's kind of like understanding that and like riding that roller coaster as you go through this whole path is what's going to eventually just give you kind of an insight into what makes you work.
Yeah, exactly. Like over the last 2 years, when people have messaged and gone, oh, how do you do this and how do you do that and blah, blah, blah. I've had a few conversations with newbies over time, because we all do, I think, at some point. My biggest tip for everyone, whether it's bariatric surgery or training or anything kind of like that, is I'm like, you do what's best for you, not what people think is best for you. So, like, I think it's really important, and it's a foundation that I personally have learnt, to really kind of tune into what my own body's telling me, and what, it's like anything, really. And I think that mastering that has been a really big, has contributed to the success that I've had with, keeping my weight off and maintaining my weight at a really healthy level. But then also tapping as I move into this next crazy phase of my life, because let's be honest, like I'm training for a half, but no doubt that I will probably end up doing a full at some point.
Yep. And then an ultra.
And then an ultra. And then qualifying for world champs. That will be my thing.
Straight to Kona.
Straight to Kona. Kona is on the board. Have a board of everything that I want to achieve in my triathlon career, and Kona is on the board.
Yeah.
My coach knows that, and that's a little bit scary, but anyway. So yeah, it's kind of, I think it's really important to just do what's best for you, and really kind of tune into yourself. So, because people can give you every kind of advice under the sun, but I think that it's just, really important to kind of key into what you're feeling, and then adjust accordingly. Like, so, my nutrition needs with working 12-hour days, training for this crazy thing, plus everything else, my nutrition needs are definitely going to be different to leaders, because leaders doing something different, or it's going to be different to a brand newbie. Like, and I really stress the importance when I've had a few people message me and go, oh, you train so much, and how do you eat? And I'm like, well, this is how I eat, and this is how I kind of prep, but this is according to me and my body and how my body's responded, and I think it stems into, we all get, because we've all been guilty of it, myself included, where we all get caught up in like comparing, regardless of where you are on the journey. Like, I know plenty of people that were sleeved around the same time as me that have lost more weight than me. And that really used to bug me, because I'm like, but what am I doing? Like, I'm doing everything right. But that's just how my body's responded. It's no different to me training. Like, my body's responding to how I'm doing my training. Because it's just me. Like, we're not a generic thing, and everyone kind of does the same thing. We're all still going to end up with a different result. Sorry, I get really passionate about that. So I kind of just go on.
It's a great thing to be passionate about.
It's a good thing, because it's like something we're all aware of, but then also like not conscious of, because like we're aware of it happens, but we also sometimes go like, oh, we're not going to do that, but then we fall into that kind of, we do it, where we kind of we kind of feel like we need to fit into the mold of what everyone else is doing. Yeah, and I'm the same. Like, I have people reach out to me all the time, and they're like, what do you do for nutrition? I'm like, honestly, find your own path. I'll give you as many tips as I can, but do you really want to live off 6 pickles and 4 boiled eggs? Like, is that really where you want to go with this? Like,
is that really where you want to go with
this? It is. And so you got to find what works for you. Like, I've talked to many people, nutritionists and stuff like that in the past, about like events and stuff, and I have what they have, and then I just, fart the whole time, because like it's giving me all this gas and stuff. So it's like, it's about finding what balance works for your body, because we're all kind of like these weird little individual machines that like need to be fueled with the right thing.
But it's
And if
also
not-
constantly changing as well. And like we obviously understand because we're a little bit further down the track, but like what you can eat obviously 2-3 years down the track and what you could eat 6 months, 12 months down the track is completely different. But it also depends on what you're working towards. Like when weight loss is the overall goal, you'll be eating things differently to if you're trying to bulk up with muscle or if you're trying to do endurance races or, you know what I mean? Like everybody's stage is so different, even if you are, you know, exactly the same weeks post-op. Like it doesn't matter what the person next to you is doing. You've just got to, as you were saying,
your goals,
you just
your
got
focus are, and all that stuff.
Just be in your lane.
100%.
Just be in your lane. Like if you're in your lane, you cannot go wrong because you're not going to get caught up in all the but she's eating this and she's eating that, or Shan's doing more training, or Mads is going to do a half marathon.
At 2:00 in the morning. Pretty sure the
waking up at 2:00 in the morning.
I think people who sit there and go, I don't have time to do anything. They just need to like come and shoot you a DM and be like, so you work a 12-hour day and then you're still training for an Ironman and you still manage to like go out and see friends and do everything. Like, don't say that you've got no time to fit it in because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, 2:00 in the morning's next level. Like I wake up at 3:30, 4:00 most days, and that's freaking early.
Do you sleep?
She's a vampire. I knew it.
My body is very comfortable on 6.5 hours at the moment. Anything less than that and I get cranky, or anything more than that and I get cranky.
Yeah.
So I don't. I just it's weird. I don't know. I think people make time for what they make time for, right? Yeah. And I know that sounds so cliche and I don't want that to sound wanky, but it's
great.
True. You know, I think that this is my goal and so I have to make it work. Yeah. Because there's no other way. You know, there is no... Sorry, I just realised my voice is really loud. There's no...
You're just so passionate.
We love it. Keep going. The neighbours may hate it, but we love it. I
think I was an Italian in a previous life because I use my hands a lot and I'm using them at the moment. I just get really like, people make time for what they make time for, right? Whether in anything.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was like, okay, cool, this is a really big goal. So I have to make it work, regardless of if I'm working 12-hour days or if I'm making time to see friends or if I'm doing this or if I'm, you know, whatever the case may be, I have to make it work because this is what is important to me. And this is my goal and I'm not going to sacrifice that for anything. So I was like, okay, cool, I have to make it work.
Yeah.
I have to make it work. And if it means getting up at 2:30 in the morning, like 2:30, like 2:30 took me about a year to get to, right? So it wasn't just, I'm going to wake up on this one day and suddenly Bob's your uncle. Like I can do it. I started at 4:00 and then I worked it back in increments of 15 minutes. So like, you know, yeah.
Do you know how to snooze? Do you ever hit the snooze button?
No.
I do so much.
Yeah, she sets her first alarm at 11:30.
Yeah.
Works her way through. Oh, wow. As much as I want to sit here and keep talking about like you and like your training and stuff. No. Like I love it. And honestly, I'd love to do like an after, like, I just know we'll bring it back to bariatrics a little bit because this is this is a me conversation. This is something I love and I feel like we need to do like another episode after it. But like, you know, what has been for your bariatric process, and even like you can take it into the chapter you're in now. What has been the most valuable lesson you've learned? Alita did put a note here that says, apart from coffee, isn't a breakfast food. We disagree. So, you know,
coffee's not a breakfast food. It is. No.
I have so many feelings about this, but I feel like I would be probably shot by half the community, so I'm not going to say them.
We have 2 coffees before we even leave bed in the morning. That's breakfast.
I mean, look, I do have my 2 coffees in the morning, but I believe in a nutritious breakfast.
Oh, we still have a nutritious breakfast afterwards. We just have our 2 coffees first, and then come 9:30, 10 o'clock, we're ready for breakfast.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like I do not function well without caffeine. And I tried it once. And then my boss at the time, I think I went like 12 days, and my boss literally handed me one, and he was like, "Drink this, and we will never speak of this again." I was like, okay.
You're going to end this phase. But you're both very valuable lesson, like when it comes to bariatric surgery and stuff like that. Have you had anything that like you've kind of not expected, but it's happened? You know, like have you any surprise that's come along the way that you've gone, oh wow, that's like a deviation in my lane?
I don't know. I feel like I've been pretty blessed with most things. Like, the only thing that I have found, and we touched on it earlier, is that you become like hypersensitive to a lot of things. And so, I have been lactose intolerant for a really long time, and so my lactose intolerance has gotten like more. You know, I think, and this is going to be so gross when I say this out loud, and you know exactly what I'm talking about because no one prepares you for it. How much you actually fast. Like, it's ridiculous.
I thought it was just normal. When no one else farts 42 billion times a day? Okay.
I just thought it was a pickle juice.
Yeah, maybe. I wasn't expecting. I guess, like, there are certain things that my body does that I was not expecting, like when my stomach decides to go off in the middle of the meeting because Dory is speaking to her people. Like, that's okay. So, my sleeve has a nickname, and its name is Dory because, like, when it gurgles and stuff, it sounds like she's speaking to the whale. So she's like, you know, like from Finding Nemo.
Mine's called Chewy because it sounds like Chewbacca. Yeah.
Oh, it gets me every time. It is very funny. I laugh. People look at me funny, but yeah, like. So, yeah, I think it just, like, there's nothing that really kind of bounces out that I've gone, oh, I was not expecting that. I think if I'd known, I'm glad that I didn't know what everything was like after, because I could experience it and be like, okay, cool, like, you know, there's this and there's that. And I don't eat a lot of red meat anymore. I find that my body really struggles to digest it, so it's not something that I go out of my way to have. Even bacon, like, I mean, I love bacon, but I'm just like, oh, it's not really agreeing with me, especially at the moment. So I'm kind of like, okay, cool. But yeah, like, I don't know.
No,
like,
that answer's perfect because, like, at the end of the day, we ask the question. We don't always expect we don't expect an answer every time. And like you saying that is like, you know, that's your process, that's your lane. You know, you know, people can kind of scale their own process because of that.
Question of the week this week. I kind of formed it for you because I feel like you would have a really good one. But what is your mantra? Like, what's your mantra that you live by? Like, because you put up things on your stories all the time, like your little love bug quotes and all that sort of thing. Like,
oh, I love bugs.
But like, I feel like you would have a mantra or many that you sort of live by. Do you have one? Is there one that comes to mind?
Oh, yes, there is.
Why am I not surprised?
So we all know that I'm a big Elwood fan, and so I would say, like, the quote that I generally like to live by is, you know, you've got to go through your Elwood funny costume phase to get to Elwood's, like, lawyer phase, right? So, like, when we, anyone that has not seen it, go educate yourself because you'll see what I mean.
I think we know. Is that like the lawyer one? The Pretty in Pink? No, was it?
What's it called, Chan? What's it called?
It's called Barbie. No, something uni. I've watched both.
Legally Blonde.
Legally Blonde.
I knew who you were talking about, and I think that's the accomplishment, all right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, like, you've got to go through your Elwood funny phase before you get to, you know, like, your Elwood's, like, lawyer phase. Because Elwood's lawyer. I mean, I love Elwoods in general, but, like, you know, and that's kind of what I live by, you know, like, I've had some hard times through my life, and I have had, you know, I'm a normal human being. Like, I've had my ups and downs, and I'm very happy to kind of come out of that on the other side and go, okay, cool, I'm in my Elwood's lawyer phase now because I went through all that stuff when I was in my early 20s and in my younger 20s, and to kind of get to now. So that was my Elwood, like, bunny on my, like, phase. Yeah. And now I'm very much in my
lawyer phase.
Kicking up. Yeah. And I'm in my lawyer phase. Like,
so if I ever see a little emoji on your stories that's like the little bunny, I'll be like, okay, she's having a little Elwood's bunny moment. She'll get through it.
Having a moment. Yeah. I think I've always just been, I mean, side note, I think I've always been relatively transparent about when I'm not having a good time. But, like, yeah, I think that's something I like to live by because it goes in ebbs and flows. Like, and there will be more bunny moments as I trawl through life, you know. But I think that getting to that lawyer phase is pretty cool.
Can you please sew a bunny tail on the back of your tri-suit? Because that would be amazing.
Yes! I can do that.
No,
that would be
she needs to wear a suit because she's in a lawyer phase.
That's the irony of it because she's in the tri-suit with the bunny tail on.
Yeah. Either way, I love that metaphor.
funnily enough, I'm getting a custom tri-suit that will be pink, so I could probably chuck a little tail on there. But only
Pink?
you, like, it's so fun.
You hardly ever wear pink. I don't get that. Never.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something that I generally like to live by. There's so many, but that would be my personal favourite. And I guess just like be kind, like, you know, be kind to one another, because you generally have no idea what someone's going through. I think that's another big one for me. But yeah, like that's kind of.
I love that.
Those are my. I know that I'm only supposed to have one, but I have two.
No, I'll be honest. Your first one, so left of field. It's definitely one I haven't Googled before to be like, give me this bunny phase, lawyer phase. You know? But it's so in your lane, which I love. Like it's what makes you tick. It's what makes you focus, and I think that's what's giving people the best insight into who you are. So I love it.
Yeah.
You know, what is, like, we've talked about the Ironman, and we talked about like the fitness goals going forward. What's some other, like, you know, what's next for you? What's next for Mads?
Oh, I don't really know. Like, I kind of I'm just very happy, I guess, with how life is at the moment. You know, I've got this really big fitness goal that I'm working towards. I work a lot. And yeah, I think I'm just focused on being happy. Like, all I wanted, I think I had a really tough 2021 personally. And to be honest, I think we all did. But, you know, there are things that happened along the way for me that I kind of went, oh, it was like a sucker punch, like every other fortnight for a while. Yeah. And I wanted to come into 2022 and just be happy. Like, all I wanted to do was just be happy, regardless of what was going on in my life. And I feel like I'm doing that relatively well, you know. I have a great goal that I'm working towards. You know, I've met some really fantastic people that have come out of situations that I have just been a little bit braver and put myself in. And yeah, I think that's kind of just where things are at, really. Like, I don't really have anything kind of big to share in that respect. I think for me, it's just about being happy.
It's the best goal to have.
Back.
Yeah.
You know, I think giving back. Oh, I'm turning 30 because that's a big thing for me this year. I am 30 in like 11 weeks, and I'm in so much denial, but that is fine.
Are you having a 1/3 crisis? Because I did. I mean, when I turned 30, I like had this like little 1/3. I call it 1/3 crisis.
A little meltdown.
Like, yeah, I like was like I thought I would be retired and a millionaire by 30. What do you mean? I'm like,
there is so much that I thought that I would be at 30, but I'm also very grateful that I'm not that. Like, because I wouldn't be the bright little pink sparkly funny tail wearing like cycling lunatic that I am now. Like, I'm very grateful for everything that I went through, because you kind of go through that to get to this. And I think it's just really important to be happy. And yeah, so that's kind of it, really. Like, I'm sure things will pop up throughout the year, but that was my main goal. Like, all I wanted to do was be happy, and just say yes, I think, to more things, and be open, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because, you know, be open and vulnerable to things, and you never know where it might lead you, and
might make you even happier.
There's a lot to that, but yeah,
that was kind of like what my goal was for this year too. Like, you know, own your decisions, because that's what I live my year. I don't do a New Year's resolution. I do a word or a phrase that I want to live by, and I guess it's sort of similar to, like, you know, saying yes and taking opportunities, because you never know where it's going to lead to. Like, my thing this year was to own it. So, like, make a decision and own it and run with it, because you just never know. Yes, you could like crash and burn, but you also might, you know, take the leap and fly. So it's kind of like it sounds very similar.
Yeah. And something you've said a couple of times actually throughout this episode, which I couldn't agree more with, is take the opportunities, because you don't know what's going to come from it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's been something like I would have held myself back in past life, I'm going to say that, like before bariatric surgery, in certain aspects, and not realize the people and the situations I missed because of that. Because like the amount of times like I do something that wasn't for me, but I got to meet someone through that process that then led to something else. So, you know, being able to say yes is the most powerful position you can put yourself in. Say yes, experience it. It may not be for you, but you got to like meet people, know that's not for you, and then move forward from there. So that's, you've said it a few times, and I really couldn't agree more with that. So
cool. Yeah.
Well, if someone wants to reach out to you, because like I think you're an absolute gem of a human, and wants to ask more questions.
I love you guys.
Like we put it like a very like this is a 1 hour like little podcast of Mads, but like obviously you can't sum up someone's amazing journey like yours in 1 hour. If someone wants to reach out to you and ask more questions and get to know you a little bit better, where's the best place to find you?
So you're more than happy for people to reach out to me via my Instagram handle. I say it a lot, and my inbox is always open. Like I'm more than happy at any time to. My phone is set from do not disturb from 9 till 3 because we all know that I'm the lunatic that gets up early. But I think that I'm always happy to kind of, be open to people messaging me about anything really. Like as long as, kind and respectful little love bugs, then it's generally fine. But yeah, more than happy for people to reach out to me via Instagram, and kind of just go from there. But yeah, like I love connecting with people that are in the same mindset from kind of what I'm going through, what I'm doing now, and then obviously then through bariatrics and stuff. And I've met some amazing people through the bariatric community, like the two of you, because I love you both like so much. And there are some really great people. There is, and just amazing human beings out there that I can't imagine. This is to anyone new that's thinking about getting it done or that just had it done, tap into the community because, there are some really good people out there, and I would not have made it through, particularly last year, I would not have made it through some of my hardest times without the people that I've met through this community, people in Perth and then people on Instagram that I'm like, oh my God, where have you been all my life?
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe.
If I get this wrong, your Instagram handle is Mads, so MADDSBRITT.
No, it's MADSBRITT.
Yeah, see, later I added an extra D. She loves the D.
On that note,
one D.
One at a time.
Yeah,
one.
See you later. One D. Anyway, I think that's a good point to sum this episode up on. Mads, you've been an absolute gem. I'm sure people are going to take a lot of value away from your episode. So thank you again for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
We wish you all the luck with all of your training and all of your events that you have not planned but planned at the same time. And we'll definitely share your successes and your wins on the Bari Banter socials as well, just so that people can kind of keep up to date with what you're doing as well. So
I promised myself that I would get through this without crying, and I think I've done well so far. So honestly, thank you. It has been such an honour to be invited to come and have a chat to you guys. Not only because I trust you guys and I fucking love you so much, but the opportunity to come and share my story a little bit. And I hope that if someone can take some kind of little nugget out of it, regardless of what we've yarned about, what I happen to get very passionate about. Might be stabbed by saying that coffee is not a breakfast drink, but that is fine. We'll just roll with it. But yeah, no, honestly, guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, I was really excited to come and jump on and have a yarn with you.
Oh, well, that's a win-win. And it's a pleasure, our pleasure. Guys, if you want to come on and share your story, make sure you do. If you want to reach out to Mads, and please, any guests that come on, it takes a lot of courage sometimes to share your story so openly and honestly. So make sure you give them lots of love. And yeah, if you want to go find out what Mads is about, you know where to find her. But guys, that is another episode of Bari Banter.
Why, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.